All right. Well, my name is Ashley Mitchell, co-owner of True North Retirement Advisors and host of the Retirement Quick Tips podcast. And I'm very excited to be here today with Tim Becker. Tim and I actually met through his father, and he knows a lot about Medicare. So he's been in the insurance industry for over a decade with a focus on Medicare, individual and family plans, and group benefits. His company, Benefit Solutions, is an insurance brokerage, which means that he's able to educate his clients on the most competitive and up-to-date solutions when it comes to Medicare plans and other healthcare coverage options. So he's not just going to fit you into some sort of a box, which I really like. So I'm super excited to talk to Tim because Medicare is very confusing, first of all. And it's also, when it comes to your retirement, it's also this huge expense, and it's such a big part of your annual retirement spending. So it's really something that, we want to make sure that we get right. But I don't have the expertise in this area. I can barely sort through my own annual enrollment period when it comes to selecting my own healthcare options. So I like to send clients to people like Tim who know what they're talking about and can help guide clients in the right direction. So Tim, thank you so much for being here. It's
Yeah.
great to see you again.
Yeah, you too, Ashley. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. So maybe we can start by talking just a little bit about what someone needs to know when they're first eligible for Medicare and then they're
Right.
enrolling for the very first time, because it's uncharted
hmm
waters. And I
hmm
think there's a lot of, just a lot of things to sort through at that time. So what are the things that you would want to emphasize to somebody who's enrolling for Medicare for the very first time?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few reasons of why you would sign up for Medicare. The first thing is if you're retiring and you're turning 65 and you don't want to work anymore, you'd sign up for A and B, Medicare A and B. If you're when you're 65. But if you're going to continue to work and you're on your group health plan with your employer, and it's called and it's considered credible coverage, then you don't need to sign up for Medicare right away, because it's credible coverage. So as long as you have that credible coverage, you don't need to sign up. But when you do want to retire, you'll need to look at signing up for Medicare A and B. And you have a time period before. So you have about 3 months before, you turn 65 and that kind of stuff to actually sign up and choose a plan and all that kind of stuff.
So what if I retire? Let's say I retire when I'm 66
Mhm,
and I sort of missed that, 3
mhm.
months prior. Can I just enroll in Medicare at any time once I retire? And I guess, should I know, like, okay, in 3 months from now I'm going to retire.
Yeah. Yep.
So I need to start that process now.
Yeah, you want to plan a little bit ahead because you don't want to retire and then, maybe lose your coverage. Cobra isn't considered credible coverage. So you either have to have your group plan or, Medicare. So before you retire, if you're over age 65, you need to plan ahead, maybe choose, I want to retire in October 1st. So you need to plan a few months ahead of that to actually, apply for Medicare, and then look at a plan. And that way on October 1st, everything will start. You'll get off your group coverage and then your Medicare coverage will start.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's one of the things I get asked about a lot.
Mhm.
Like, when should I
Right.
start this? How far in advance do I need to
Mhm.
do? And then so what would be like the first step if you're enrolling in Medicare for the very first time? How do you initiate that process?
Yeah, there's a few ways you can do it. You can go schedule an appointment at a Social Security office, a local Social Security office, and then talk to them, and they can sign you up that way. Or you can go online and sign up for Medicare. So there's those two ways that you can do it. And you always want to make sure when you are signing up and you're doing the applications, that, you tell them, do you want to have the benefits come out now or do you want to wait? Either way, it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. And then, what date you want Medicare to start. And you want to, like I said, you want to start thinking about that and maybe get an appointment with Social Security, or apply online, 3 to 2 months before the actual date.
And that would give you enough time because depending on which plans you add and what you pick, I mean, there's a wide variance of costs. And I
Right.
think one of the things that surprises some people is that Medicare is not free. You
Right.
still have to pay. So maybe you can talk about, what someone could expect to pay and kind of where the sort of floor is on that, and then I know there's other parts to it and other optional things that people can add too. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Medicare A and B, when you start that, it costs, well, for 2022 for the first level, it goes by level. So the first level is 170.10. And it's
Okay.
actually going down $5 next year. So it'll be 160, around $5, it'll be 163.90
And
next year.
when you say levels, do you mean by it's based priced on income?
It is, yeah.
So the higher your income is, the more you'll
Mhm.
pay, right?
Yep, exactly. So the higher
Okay.
your income, the more you'll pay. And they do that either single or joint. They do a 2-year look back, gross income. And yeah, so it depends on what level you're at. But the base level is 170.10. Well, next year, 2023, it'll be 164.90, which is cool. So,
Okay. Yeah.
and then, yeah, so
Interesting.
that's the basics for A and B. So A, it doesn't cost anything, but B is that premium you have to pay each month. And then there's plans on top of that. Those can range from a lot of different things. There's a lot of different plans that you can look at, depending on what your, who your doctor's office is, what kind of drugs you're taking, what kind of coverage you want, how in-depth coverage you want, all that kind of stuff. So the
Mhm.
plans can range quite a bit.
And that's to me where it seems to get really confusing, right? So like
Sure.
how, and that's, I guess, obviously where someone like you would come in is because you could look
Right.
at their situation, ask them a few questions and say, oh, okay, so,
Sure.
this kind of suite of alphabet soup Medicare options
Right.
might make sense for you. But I guess along those same lines, when someone is selecting the different plan options that come along with Medicare, what do you see as some of the more common mistakes that someone might make, or places where you see where they kind of get tripped up and maybe pick the wrong options for their situation?
Sure, there's a few things that you need to look out for. I guess probably there's if you wait too long to sign up for A and B, in specific circumstances, when you eventually sign up, you can be charged a penalty every month.
Is
So
that
for instance,
for like the rest of
yeah,
your life?
hmm
Wow.
yeah. So there's what really the two biggest things is when you get onto Medicare A and B, you have to get some type of drug coverage. So you have to choose some type of drug plan. There are certain instances like with TRICARE or the VA, military coverage. You don't need to because those have the coverage. But most people will have to get some type of drug coverage when they get on Medicare A and B. If you
Okay.
don't, then you will eventually, when you get a plan, you will be charged a fee every month added on to your drug coverage.
That's a pretty stiff. And can you undo that?
No, no.
Oh,
Yeah, so that
that's
you
a pretty
definitely want to
stiff
look. It's
penalty.
right. Yeah. I mean, it's not it goes by every month that you don't have it, incurs a penalty. So obviously it's not very much at first, but after a few years, you're going to start looking at some hefty penalties when you eventually get on a drug plan.
Interesting. So what about some other mistakes that you see?
Sure. Yeah, and then another thing is like when you are eligible for getting on Medicare and you don't have a group health plan, you will also be charged a fee once you eventually get on it. So you need to get A and B when you're eligible if you're not on a group plan or
Oh,
you
so
don't
in
have
other
credible
words, like
coverage.
you can't have like this gap in time
Right.
where
hmm
you're not. So okay, I see.
Yeah. So you need to make sure that there's yeah, exactly. There's no gap. Make sure you have credible coverage through your employer or through somebody else. Yeah, and then you're fine. But yeah, if you do turn 65 and you don't have any coverage, you do want to get on Medicare, the month that you turn 65, so you
Hmm.
can avoid any of those fees.
Okay. And then as far as selecting the plan, so there's A and B, and then there's the, prescription drug. What are some other things that people need to know when they're sorting through the various options and what's available? Because, there's these trade-offs, right? The more bells and whistles I have, the
Sure.
more things, and that's the hard part, even for just selecting a normal health coverage plan is like, okay, well, I have to weigh how much I think I'm going to need this. Do I want a
Mhm.
high deductible, low deductible? How much, there's trade offs with everything.
Right.
And unless we know how sick we're going to get in the next year, you
Mhm.
can't really pick the ideal plan. But within the uncertainty of all of that, how do you advise your own clients to kind of weigh the cost and benefits of the different packages that they could pick for themselves when it comes to Medicare?
And you're right, there are a lot of different options. I mean, really, it's a case by case basis. I mean, you want to look at, who your doctors are. Do you like certain networks? Do you, in this area, do you like Legacy? Do you like Providence? Do you like Kaiser? Who do you want to go see when something happens? And then also, the different types of drugs you take. So all of those kind of things, weigh into the type of plan you choose. Do you want to pay co-pays when you go see the doctor, or do you want to pay, a monthly premium, a higher monthly premium, and not pay very much when you go see the doctor? So there's a lot of different factors, and that's why, when somebody calls me and asks, I show them all the different options of different types of plans, and kind of educate them on what's out there, what's available, and we can kind of narrow it down to a few different selections and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then one of the things that you mentioned to me prior to our interview today was, I think it's called the prescription donut hole. Is that what it's called?
Sure. Yeah,
Maybe you
so
could
the
talk a
donut
little
hole.
bit about that, because until you said it, I hadn't really heard about it. Don't know much
Right.
about it.
Yeah, so the donut hole is kind of scares a lot of people, but the good news is about 5% of people get in the donut hole. And really, what the donut hole, there's four different stages of paying for drugs. The first stage is the deductible stage. So, the Medicare Advantage plan, and you pay the different co-pays and all that kind of stuff. So just a standard coverage. Second stage is the initial coverage stage. Where you pay your different co-pays for the drugs, and all that kind of. Most people stay in stage 1 and 2. Most people just, they don't have, even if they have higher drugs, it's not that big of a deal. The third stage is the coverage gap stage. And for 2022, if your combined drug costs that the company has paid and you have paid equals $4,430 for this year, then you would have to pay 25% of your prescription drugs. That's where people get a little scared, because you're
Mm.
paying 25% of your drugs. And then it goes up to $7,050. Once you hit the $7,050, then it goes a lot lower. You pay a lot lower amount. But like I said, only about 5% of people in this country get to stage 3.
Mm.
So it is something you want to, look at and maybe ask, if you call in and ask us about that. But yeah, like I said, it's a very low amount of people that get caught in that donut hole, as they call, where the stage 3, where you have to pay the 25%.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, it's funny because it's just like there's so much to know,
Sure.
um and the costs are so, like I was saying earlier, the costs are so high no matter what, and it's such a big part of your spending. A lot of people will end up spending anywhere from like 10 all the way up to 30% of their entire monthly budget just paying for healthcare related costs. And that's not even including situations where you may have like a really serious illness or Alzheimer's or dementia,
Sure.
and then the costs like skyrocket from there. So yeah,
Yep.
it's really important. So are there where are some of the best resources online where someone can start to explore some of these options and start to kind of educate themselves about this?
Yeah. So Medicare.gov. That's a great website. I even use it myself. You can even look at the different plans in your area. But to get more knowledge on those different kind of plans and to break them down, it would be good to talk to somebody like me or another, a broker that can help you understand the different types of plans. But Medicare.gov, it has so much information on there, that gives you, how to sign up, all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the best websites that you can look at. And then obviously, if you need extra help and looking at different things, you can give us a call and we can go through all of that. It doesn't cost you anything, and we're just here to help educate you and give you all the answers that you need.
That's great. Okay, well, I will be sure in both the podcast show notes and on the YouTube, when I post this on YouTube, I will post your contact information.
Okay,
So if
perfect.
people have questions, they can reach out to you.
Mhm.
All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is this kind of window of time.
Right.
And that's what prompted me reaching out and saying,
Right.
"Hey, Tim, can we talk about this?" Because there's an enrollment period that goes through early December, where if you're already enrolled in Medicare, you can re-enroll, change some things around. So maybe talk a little bit about that, but then also like what would be a situation where should someone like look closely at this and go through this re-enrollment every year? I mean, that sounds like kind of a lot. Or is it something to maybe revisit periodically, or just kind of how would you advise someone who's already enrolled in Medicare, in terms of how they should approach this enrollment period that's currently going on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So the AEP, or the annual election period, where anyone who has a Medicare plan can change their plan. It's October 15th through December 7th. Now that's every year. What I would do is just look at the plan that you have. If you absolutely love it and there's not going to be any changes, you don't need to do anything. It'll auto enroll you. If the plan's available next year, it'll auto enroll you, and you don't have to do anything. If you are wondering, maybe there are other types of products or plans out there, you're not 100% happy with your plan, maybe your drugs are a little high, or your doctor isn't your favorite, then you can actually look at other plans. So it doesn't hurt to see if there's maybe a different type of plan that might have more coverage for you, or if certain maybe dental is more important to you this year, so you want to look at plans that have more dental coverage, or all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of reasons why you could look at different plans. But if, like I said, if you're absolutely happy with your plan and nothing is changing for the following year, then just keep it.
Yeah, that's a good point on the dental, because I actually have a few veneers and crowns that are aging and they need to be replaced. So maybe
Right.
like if I was on Medicare, maybe I would want to retool my plan this
Yeah,
year and
get
look
a plan
closely
with
at
more
it.
dental coverage. Sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, get some new pearly whites.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gosh, Tim, this is so helpful. I think it's amazing that there's people out there like you who can really, steer people in the wrong direction, or in the right direction, because it's very easy to take missteps.
Yep.
Healthcare coverage and selecting the right healthcare options. I find it's a pretty overwhelming process, and clients seem to be overwhelmed, and people I talk to seem to be overwhelmed. I think there's a lot of confusion, misconceptions about this. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, for all of you watching, I really hope, or listening on the podcast, I really hope that this was helpful. And again, I'm going to put Tim's contact information in the show notes or in the description of the video. And then that way, if you want to reach out, again, Tim's open and willing to talk to you for free. It doesn't cost anything to have a consultation. So I think, where any time that I can lean on an expert, whether it comes to legal issues or tax issues or healthcare, or like myself, financial advisor, experts who are true professionals, I think are worth their weight in gold. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Tim. And I just really enjoyed talking to you and seeing you again today. It was great.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for having me on. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, bye for now.
All right. Bye-bye.